is the culmination of an exciting project concerning Beaver Lake and the White River watershed in northwest Arkansas. Still on the Hill talked with families who lived and worked and fished and played on the White River and Beaver Lake for generations. They researched books and documents, talked with historians, drove long miles, traversed the watershed back and forth and up and down. Then they wrote and recorded a CD and presented a program based on all the songs to create awareness for the lake's history and its collective stories. The project was made possible through a grant from the Arkansas Arts Council to 4 Northwest Arkansas groups: the Association of Beaver Lake Environment, Ozarks Water Watch, Beaver Water District, and Beaver Watershed Alliance, with special additional sponsorship from the Shiloh Museum of Ozark History. This 2-year project was completed in the summer of 2014, but they are now bringing it back to the Fayetteville Public Library as an encore performance for those who missed its original journey and for those who simply want to enjoy it again. The program is guaranteed to instill in you a new sense of pride and ownership for the protection of Beaver Lake, this valuable resource which supplies drinking water and quality of life for thousands of Arkansans, as well as providing ample quality of water supply for fish and wildlife, flora and fauna, and all that lives and grows and breathes. We hope you enjoy today's program, and all we ask before you leave, if you could take just a few minutes to fill out the short evaluation forms we've left on your seat. Your feedback really helps us to think about other programs for the library, so we would appreciate it very much. So without further delay, please help me welcome Still on the Hill.
This is kind of bittersweet for us because this has been the most amazing journey that we've been on. So.
It is, and the last hurrah here, it's all over, but you know, it touches our heart to see our family, our extended family right here in front of us. There's no more beautiful place for us to play than for you guys. Really, I'm not just saying that. We don't say that everywhere. I promise you. This is such a beautiful, your faces, almost everybody here is part of our family, everybody.
But the song we're going to start with is really an invitation to go to water, to go visit Beaver Lake this summer, even right now, hike around it. And the Native American people had a tradition called going to water. And what they would do is every morning they would go to a body of water and immerse themselves, not to take a bath per se, but really to wash away all the worries of the world and start fresh and new. So it's called When I Go to Water.
Here we go. Father and town, the Cherokee, greeted the dawn. They went to the water with a prayer and a song. The waves beckoned me to the shores of Beaver Lake. Down in the sailboat, simply drift away. That really don't matter what course I might take. The wind fills my soul when I go to water. When I go to water, I can feel my worries drown, sinking down to the bottom. I'll get my old keyboard, my flat bottom boat, fill up my tumbler on my sweet Cardinal. Said I'll be back this evening, a brand new man. I'll heat up the griddle and burn the frying pan. But if I catch nothing, it won't matter, you know, and it fills my soul when I go to water. When I go to water, I can feel my worries drown, sinking down to the bottom. When I turn me to water, I will leave my troubles. I will rest my soul when I go to water. sets my mind free. Rocking to the rhythm of an ancient melody, adding to the sunscreen, something cool to drink. The bright summer sun shining down on me. That's all that I need to relax, don't you know? And it fills my soul when I go to water. When I go to water, I can feel my worries drown, sinking down to the bottom. All that's made of water, I will lay my soul there. I will rest my soul when I go to water. I will rest my soul when I go to water. Well, we're going to, most of the songs we wrote for this collection of work are historical in nature. But maybe I want to back up a little bit. Some of you may have come to how many came to the Walton Arts Center when we did our first, at the Star Theater? Some of you were there. And that was when we unveiled this thing. And so this is the beginning and the end here. And so at that concert, we had all our representatives with us, with their information to share with you. And today we have the same. We have Angela back there with Ozark Water Watch, and there's Dot back there with the Beaver Water District, and also we got help from the Beaver Watershed Alliance, and ABLE, which is an acronym for the Association for Beaver Lake Environment, and with Tony Milton. And I want to say that this project was actually sparked by one individual, one person. It started the whole ball rolling, and the culprit's right there in this room, Tony Miltich.
Thank you, Tony.
He had watched us write songs, or observed us writing songs about Ozark history, and he just had this profound idea that maybe if people knew more about the history of Beaver Lake, because so many of us have moved here since it was built, and if we kind of understood where it came from and how precious this land is, that maybe we'd do more inclined to take care of it. That was the whole idea, and I think it was a profoundly beautiful idea, and it seems to be working. Thank you, Tony, for that. So we're going to continue on. We got some instruments we have to explain before we go any further. Some of these,
one of a kind.
Some of these require a little explanation. This was made by a man named Jim Lee. He lives in Nebraska, but he visits the Ozarks very regularly and has become a very dear friend of ours. This was actually in the Mountain View Folk Center in a glass case for about 20 years or so.
Untouched by human hands.
And when they decided to remodel, they let go of it, and Jim gave it to us. Look at the back of this. It's carved from a single piece of crab apple.
And it's actually tuned like a banjo, so it's not really a guitar. It's kind of a tanjo or a banjo-tar. But it's a very special instrument. And I have a ukulele. Back in the 1930s and 40s, people in Chicago, companies were trying to invent an instrument that anybody could play. And so they sent salesmen out door to door to farmhouses, and they would sell them for $12.99. But if they put them up for a night, $6.99. If they had a real cute daughter, $4.99 for free. I don't know. But they went out of tune really quick, and nobody could keep them in tune. So they went out of fashion. They became wall hangers. But I love to play this one. I'm going to play it upside down and backwards so y'all can watch it.
So right after when we started looking into the history of the watershed, you bump into one event real quickly that kind of started the whole ball rolling. It was the flood of 1927, a very disastrous event in Arkansas. It's hard to imagine this, but apparently 1/3 of the state was underwater. The Mississippi had flooded where it intersects with the White River. Of course, you might not realize the White River that formed Beaver Lake actually goes all the way up into Missouri, up by Branson, and then back down into Arkansas. Very unusual. Continues on down southeast, all the way down into dumps back into the Mississippi. And so the whole delta was flooded, and we thought that it turned to the federal government after this happened. Created the authority to build dams, primarily for flood control originally, even though now We use it for drinking water and for recreation, for hydroelectric power.
So throughout the whole thing, I have my PowerPoint. This is kind of low-tech. I made some quips to show you. This is the flood of 27. A small town down in Arkansas that was totally underwater. So I found some diaries of a young woman named Lucy Summerfield. And she survived the flood on the roof of her house and wrote a detailed journal about it. So I turned the story into a song called The Flood of 27. Rain pouring down as we pray for the levees to hold.
Old man Mississippi had a mind of his own. The high waters came, washed away our homes. No time to gather anything, holding photographs for grandma's ring. Just a prayer on the wing as we face the flood. Against the wind, wet calico against my skin, felt the darkness crashing in as I climbed up to the rooftop. Watched the river rising high, black water spreading far and wide. Mercy, baby, and I cried, oh, where will we go now? That night felt like eternity. I begged to God, please rescue me. That town went down in history in the flood of 27. Somehow I managed to survive. I was glad to be alive. I volunteered both day and night at camps set up by the Red Cross. Young black men were forced to stay, repair the levees without pay. Smallpox took my child away. Damn that old river. Then Uncle Sam, he stepped in with promises to build great dams all across those southern lands to tame those rivers. The river finally did subside, the sky is smiling big and wide. The clouds have all been pushed aside. Now I'm starting over. I must say, I had to smirk at a certain point. We've been very thrilled that because of the Beaver Water District and a donation from Charlotte Steele and also the Beaver Shed Water Alliance, we are getting to take this into 23 elementary schools for 4th and 5th graders. And so we're right in the middle of that, and we've done about 7 or 8 of them. And believe it or not, Donna is making us.
Darn that old river.
Instead of damn that old river, we have to say darn that old river. And I feel so stupid. Darn that old river. Does not fly.
Well, this instrument has some interesting trivia. Remember the old Alfred Hitchcock movie Psycho? You all remember that movie? This instrument, the ukulele, was used in the soundtrack for the shower scene. Listen, listen. This will bring back memories.
Yeah, it might be memories you'd rather forget.
Okay, wipe that thought from your mind.
Oh.
We don't want to go there.
You know,
One thing that was interesting about being asked to do this project is that Tony, I don't believe when you asked us this that you had any idea how closely associated with the lake I personally am. My folks I grew up in Fayetteville, and my folks bought a place when I was 3 or 4 years old in what is now LaRue, right before the lake was built. So as a child, I got to see the lake come up. I guess I was 4 years old, just about, almost 5. And I have a lifelong love of Beaver Lake. And actually, you know, so this was it really hit home for me. But also, what are you doing?
Nothing.
You're just rearranging for the fun of it. We've been doing a shorter version of this for the kids, so we're a little confused here. I think we're having PowerPoint failures. Malfunction. We need a new IT person.
Okay, I'm on it.
But you know, my whole life I've been hearing rumors about circus activity on the White River. You know, like for instance, the High Sky Inn over there by War Eagle had some rumors of being a hangout for carnies. Well, we found out where all this was coming from. It was really from a lady named White River Red, who had a little carnival down by the White River, and she was a very eccentric lady. She had all kinds of exotic animals.
She kept a baboon in her cage, and people would go visit her all the time to see her animals.
She had a famous gambling game with rats that everybody loved, and a roulette table that had rats that would come up through little holes. And so we finally found out the details from a lady who lives here in Fayetteville named Charlotte Smith. And Charlotte Steele. And she is the widow of Philip Steele. Philip Steele was a wonderful historian of Ozark history. And we have a lot of documents from him, and the Shiloh Museum helped us with that. There's a little booklet he wrote about White River Red. In fact, that's the cover. And filled in all the necessary details for us. So actually, Donna wrote this song from Philip Steele's perspective, as if he was singing the song.
So he gets to play the part of Philip.
That's right.
Yeah. And this, we dedicate this to Charlotte,
Yeah.
who helped us go into all the schools, and we're very grateful.
All right, here we go.
Right,
One, 2, 3. She always dressed up just like a man, with her plaid flannel shirt and her bright red hair. She was quite a sight at the county fair. Take it, what you looking at, she said, but I could not take my eyes on the White River Red. Faustina Magdalene was her given name. She traveled with the circus back in her younger days. She played a carny named Jack Kennel, who was rowdy and loud, and his gambling game with rats, but it surely drew a crowd. Hurry, hurry, play short bets. The voice of the carnival was White River Red. Well, I grew up to be a writer. I wrote books on history about Jesse James, the Civil War, Cherokee, but the story of White River Red was the one I loved the best. And the rest of the story was good as it gets. Here goes Back in 1931, she bought a little piece of land. It became the winter quarters for her carnival friends. And when Jack Campbell died, she started hauling Christmas trees. Vince Pope, hay, strawberry. Her entourage of animals made her think of circus days. Folks came from miles around to see her baboon in a cage. Well, White River Red, you know her pockets were deep, and secretly she helped out all her friends who were in need. For funeral expenses, she would spend a $30, and she'd throw a birthday party for the kids down the holler. And she died without a penny to her name. We even have a stone to mark her grave. Well, I made sure that ample funds were finally raised, and a red granite stone was beautifully engraved with pictures showing Faustina's old circus life White River Red. I see we have John Pennington just walked in the room, so we have representation from the Beaver Watershed Alliance as well.
Yay!
Thank you. Good. Everybody, the gang's all here again. It's like a reunion. They came to all of our, we did 10 shows with this grant, and we played all over the place, all from all the way up to Garfield and Eureka Springs and Huntsville and.
They could be our stand-in if we, you know.
Yeah, they are so sick and tired of this, you guys.
That's why we're here, right?
We appreciate you. It's been a pleasure working with all 4 groups. It was so fun to get to know everybody involved. So.
Now I got the right one.
Oh, yes. Okay, so this is a pretty song. So we're going to play dulcimers on this song. I'm going to play.
Dueling dulcimers.
Yeah, how about that? I'm going to play a relatively. No. I think we both lost.
Just kidding.
You know, this is I have a real. No, I'm going to show you your dulcimer first. I have a relatively. We're getting out of step here again. Another PowerPoint malfunction. So this is a relatively what you'd expect to see from a mountain dulcimer, an McSpadden from Mountain View, which is a very nice instrument. But I love this one Donna's going to play.
I found this at a garage sale, and some old timer built the dulcimer into an old violin case. So the case itself is the dulcimer, and I love this instrument so much. Now I'll show you.
So now we're getting a little closer to home for me because growing up in LaRue, we still have that cabin, by the way. Like my mom would be here today, except she's a little under the weather, but she's come to most of the shows. And this is a man named Jack Bland, one of the very first people to settle what is now LaRue. Very historic picture. I guess this is probably about 1880. And there are many Blands that live around LaRue. So when I was growing up there, I was familiar with most of the Bland family, Arthur Bland and all the rest of the crew. And every year, there's also a little schoolhouse close to LaRue. It's called the Rocky Branch Schoolhouse. It would have been covered up by the lake, but they dragged it up the hill and relocated it. And every year, they have a reunion. And all the folks that went to that schoolhouse that are still living go together and tell stories and recount their experiences there. So they invited Donna and I to come and hear stories that might be good for this album. And sure enough, there was one story that just absolutely rose to the top and was a must-do. A beautiful, tender love song, true song about Jack Bland
And we
and his
want
wife.
to dedicate this to his grandson, Alan Bland.
Yeah, Alan Bland. Just for, I think this would be nice. Alan Bland is kind of, a lot of people might know Alan Bland. He's kind of the face of the Corps of Engineers for Beaver Lake, and works up in Rogers. And he's had a bad accident last week, and he's in intensive care. And he's a friend. I've known him since I was a child, about 10 years younger than me. So I would like to send this song out to him, and I would also like to send all of our energy for him to get well together. I think it would be worthwhile to try to do that for Alan Bland.
And this is about his grandfather or great-grandfather?
I'm going to say that was his great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather.
1, 2, 3, 1.
On the far side of the river, never did he dream that he could outlive her. Oh, how she loved the dogwood when they were in bloom. Every day upon her grave, he placed a blossom or two. In the month of May, he'd bring her purple violets An evening primrose, still clear through August, in the dog days of summer, orange bittersweet, it grew by the roadside, so that's what we bring. Every day without fail, he'd bring her grace. October through November, he'd bring her Queen Anne's lace and lovely winter jasmine. When December came, a team of wild horses couldn't keep him away. In May, the rains came and flooded Rocky Point. He tried to get across, but he never had the chance. They buried Jack Lamb beside Melinda's grave. They moved to higher ground when they built Beaver Lake beneath the lovely dogwood that blossoms every spring. No need to cross the river now, keep resting in peace. No need to cross the river.
We forgot to tell you, get your hanky out for that one. It's a sweet story. So you need to turn over our map.
Oh, okay.
All right, we've got a very mysterious thing up here. We got this from the Shiloh Museum. Susan Young does a wonderful presentation about the White River, and she showed a slide of this list, this price list. This is what it used to cost to get across the White River in 1850.
On Abner Jennings Ferry, one of the most famous ferry boats to cross the White River. And it was so cute. The first time we played this at a school in Huntsville, we got all these letters from kids saying, "Oh, it's so cool that there are ferries that take people across the river." So now when we're saying this, we try to really articulate, we don't mean little ferries with wings, a special kind of boat. So this is the actual price list to cross the river on Abner Jennings Ferry. And of course I had to take some poetic license. I changed a few words, but it's pretty much there.
That's true. He also was the postmaster down at Glade. Glade is another town that was submerged by Beaver Lake, although there is a little sliver of it, and apparently they have a really strong historical site that they just formed last year, and they're working on a project right now to restore the schoolhouse in Glade, in fact, which is very close to Garfield, if you're trying to figure out where that would be. So this is so Donna used this as the chorus, and we think it's fun to throw up there for you to see.